Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and it's Coffee Chat Monday, and it's actually Monday. So I went through some of the questions and I wrote them down. I have quite a few of them listed in these little coffee mugs. I'm going to go back through every couple of days and check for new ones and write them down, and I will be doing coffee chats based on your questions on the Q&A and things like that. One of the first ones I thought I'd pick is because it's the creative slump question. Tabitha, she asked about getting out of creative slump, and she specifically asked when you have mental illness like PTSD or something like that. There are a number of mental illnesses that are really great to use creativity as a therapy, as an outlet. But what happens when you are in a creative slump and you can't create? First, I thought I'd tell you, one, you're not alone. You are not alone. I have anxiety, depression, and ADHD. So when the depression kicks in really badly, it feels like my creative well is dry. It feels like everything has been sucked out of existence for me, that there's nothing positive, nothing good. It's unsettling. It causes me to have more stress and anxiety, especially because creativity is my outlet for anxiety, for depression. It helps keep me more focused, which helps me manage my ADHD better. But when my creativity is either at a slow trickle instead of flowing like a river like it normally does, normally have so many ideas I can't keep up with them, then when it completely dries up and I have nothing, then it's time for me to change things up. So what I normally do is change things up. I change my routine, or I change my location, I change what medium I'm using, I try something completely different. I have done things like this. There was a prompt in astrology speaking. This is the month of Leo, and Leo is my rising sign, and we were to draw or write or chronicle something about a lion, about Leo. And I did a scene from The Lion King. Well, this happened when I was feeling really blah. I didn't feel like journaling. I was not feeling like doing my journal pages. I didn't know what to write about my journal pages. My anxiety was really high. The depression was trying its hardest to kick in, to overdrive. So I did that. There are pages in here that are nearly blank, completely blank, nearly blank. I need to get back to those. This is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week, so that you get the drift. I figured this would be a really good one to cover. So we're going to go here. Tuesday, Wednesday, no writing. Thursday, I did that Friday or Saturday. And then Friday's page, I don't need to put something. And I messed up this page. This page got messed up. You're not alone. You're not alone. A few weeks ago, when I first found out my dad had cancer and everything, and Mr. Rockstar's biopsy was out, and we were trying to find out what was wrong with him, and they were also running a biopsy for cancer, I was a hot mess. I couldn't journal. When I tried, and I did some stuff, but I did mostly text journaling on top of watercolor. I kept going back and forth between trying to chronicle things, and I put a lot of quotes in. I did things that's from a coloring book. That was Mr. Victor's stuff. This is all collage stuff. I didn't draw anything on this page. And then we get to here where I start, and I'm getting it all out, getting all of that out on the page. I did 6 or 8 pages worth of that text journaling on watercolor, just getting it out. Sometimes if you do something else, like I write and I draw and I paint. So sometimes when drawing or painting isn't working, I will go work on a novel, or I will write in a different journal where I do text journaling. Sometimes I will try to write poetry. I will read a book. Sometimes I embrace that creative slump and do something different that I don't always have time to do when I'm so busy doing the journaling. So I'll read a book. I'll watch a movie. I'll go to a museum, an art gallery, or something, and just give yourself grace and compassion, because the slumps do happen sometimes. Or you could do something like take a walk, take a shower or bath, a bubble bath. I like taking a bubble bath every now and again. Go running, go swimming, do something physical, a physical activity, ride a bicycle. Or you could clean your creative space. I found sometimes when I'm in a slump, when I feel cleaning my creative space really helps, because it kind of clears away the gunk. Talking to other creative people is great for support. It helps you not feel quite so alone. But the camaraderie also of sharing thoughts and ideas and maybe what you create is also helps open your mind to creativity in general, to new things, to trying something different. One of the things that I really promoted about Destination Me and feel like really helps the group itself is because there are so many different kinds of creative people, creative women in Destination Me. Destination Me isn't about journaling, it's about creativity on the whole. It's about all of us inspiring and motivating, and about sharing, and it's about the self. It's about all of that. It's not about, it's about self-care, taking care of yourself as a creative. It's about what inspires and motivates you mentally and emotionally, creatively. So there are people in there who paint rocks. There are people in there who quilt. There are people in there who journal. There are people in there who knit. There are people in there who crochet. There are people in there who do all kinds of things. And I love when they share things. And I love those because I can be inspired by something, a picture on a quilt, to actually do something on a journal page. I can be inspired by something I saw in there and it's completely different. Maybe I'd never do it, but they made something themselves, or they did something. Maybe they made their own traveler's notebook or whatever, and it inspires me to do something different, to try something new. I think that's another thing, trying something new, trying something completely different. Get out of your routine. If you always do your journal pages in the morning, try doing your journal pages at night. You always do your journal pages in the nighttime before you go to bed, try doing them in the morning. Try breaking up your routine. For me, what works is sometimes one of those things, or something completely different. Like one day it might work for me to take a walk, but the next time it might work for me to just say to hell with being creative right now and just go read a book. I read a lot when I first found out about my dad's cancer. I was reading. I couldn't write, and it was Camp NaNoWriMo, so I really should have been writing, but I went to reading. And I went through, I was at a fourth of the way through the Stephen King book, and I, in just a couple of days, read all the way through to halfway. And then I haven't read it in the last couple of days. I need to, but I am now at 3/4 of the way through the book. And because I put away some of the other things, stopped pressuring myself to try to write, and stopped pressuring myself to try to journal, to try to draw or paint or chronicle any of that. And I read for a little bit. I also watched Shark Week's TV stuff that month in July, and I did some mind candy stuff. And instead, when I did go back to my journal pages, I did some collage, like I showed you. Instead of trying to draw, I found some things, some bits and bobs of things that I had, and used collage in my journal. I don't anymore buy a whole lot of stuff. For ephemera, I use everyday ephemera and stuff like that. I do get a few stickers here and there, washi tape. Sometimes what I use is the packaging that things that I got came in. Sometimes I use a tag from a shirt or a dress or something I bought. Sometimes I use a label off of something. So I don't anymore have like a whole lot of stock to go through, but I find that when I do kind of need to get something on a page and be creative with it, and I don't really feel like drawing, I go through magazines or I go through pictures. I have some really old books that were torn and messed up anyway, and I use some of the illustrations out of those books on occasion. When I feel like that, when I don't feel like drawing, I don't feel like painting, that's when I do collage stuff and I use ephemera a lot, and it helps me go through the stuff that I do have when I'm doing that. That actually answered one of the other questions, but I'm going to get into that in more detail in another video. I find that being creative is like filling, okay, we use a Brita water pitcher. When you put the new filter in, it goes really fast through the filter and into the pitcher, really fast. Our water here is kind of hard, it's yucky, it leaves white spots all over everything. So for water that I make coffee with, or water that we cook with, unless we're boiling it, anything like that, for water to drink, we use the filter. Once that filter is getting kind of dirty, when it gets dirty, when it goes down to a small trickle, when it's coming out very slowly, you know it's time to replace the filter. They say it's good for 2 months, but it lasts us usually about 5 or 6 weeks. It doesn't usually last for a complete 2 months. So I find that I can notice, well, my creativity is kind of like that. Sometimes when I've cleaned my creative space, when I am participating, when I'm being fed creative fodder through videos, through pictures, through books, through things that spark the creative juices flowing, that really gets my creative juices flowing. Patreon, Courtney and Romney they give me food for thought. Videos by other people who are creative, who journal and write and stuff like that, give me food for thought. I have been remiss and haven't done the Right Stuff chats on Tuesdays in a while, but that I do go through and read some of the Twitter things, but I watch Tamara's videos and I read some of her stuff that she has in the Right Stuff group, and that keeps me motivated to not give up writing when writing right now is not really a huge priority in my life. I'm still writing, but I'm no longer trying to beat myself up over not writing 1,000 or 2,000 words a day. My mental focus over the last few weeks, over the last couple of months, it's just not been, the writing's just not been my thing. Right now, writing wise, I'm probably more inclined right now, because of everything that's going on in my mental state, and to actually write poetry instead of fiction, or nonfiction even. But I still am inspired and motivated by different things. I like to watch several people on YouTube, and maybe I'll make a video about some of my favorites on YouTube that I watch for journal stuff and inspiration and things like that, that make me feel more creative, that make me want to create, that make me want to try new things. I watch a lot of different kinds. Getting outside of the every single day, every single same old helps. I don't do the same old. My routine changes up pretty much daily. The only thing that stays the exact same is when I get up in the morning, I stretch. The first thing I do every morning is stretch, and I have to. Physical therapist told me, unless I want surgery on my shoulders, that I have to stretch for at least, the minimum I have to stretch for is at least 10 to 15 minutes, because if I don't, I will not keep mobility in my shoulders, and I will end up having to have surgery, because when it rains here and it gets really bad, the inflammation, it hurts to move them. When it's not rainy and it's clear and everything, it doesn't hurt. It strains them sometimes to move them completely up and stuff, but it doesn't hurt. But when it's rainy and they're inflamed, it hurts. So I stretch every single day. I do morning pages most days. I try to walk every day. Even if I can't go outside, I try to walk in the house, or I dance when I'm cleaning. I'll do a 15 to 30 minute clean, and the whole time I'm cleaning, I do dancing. I put on music and I dance while I clean, because it helps. The rest of the things, though, some days I start journaling in the morning and I finish it up at night. Sometimes I don't do the journaling in the morning. I will do everything else, and then at night I journal. Sometimes I journal in the morning completely and get it all done, and then at night I read or write or something else. But I don't always do the exact same thing. I break it up. And sometimes I do things like watercolor. Let's see. Sometimes I do things, well, I wrote some stuff on here by accident and then painted over it. I did this. I do things like, well, I haven't done this in a while, but found something on Pinterest that I really liked. when I need a creative boost. Or I'll do things like, this is from The Eyes of the Dragon, Stephen King's book. And then I have another one. This is from The Drawing of the Three. So I do different kinds of things. Like, I'm reading books, I try to do stuff like that. This is from It. So I do all different kinds of things. I mean, I'm not just doing that. I also write and I read morning pages. I had morning pages in this once. I did them. It's a novel journal. Writing. And then if you look, go to the very back where there's still a few pages. This is what it looks like. It has the pages of the novel on there, and that's how it's lined. It's not regular lines. I did this one day when I was very depressed. Self-doubt was bothering me, like, because you always feel like somebody's looking over your shoulder. I do a lot of filming. I show my journal process, me writing, painting, drawing. So it, makes you feel self-conscious when people are watching you do that kind of stuff. At least it does for me. That's my anxiety. So I do different things. I read books. I watch TV. I watch movies. Do all kinds of things to help get myself out of the creative slump. And I try to change things up as much as I can. Now, when it gets really bad, like it did last month, or like it did last week when I was having a really hard time, I didn't do anything at all on Thursday. And the rest of the week I was kind of doing stuff, but I was doing it in spurts. I take a break and I allow, like I did on Thursday, and I give myself grace. I have the compassion for myself to say, okay, do something instead of trying so hard, instead of pushing yourself and giving yourself even more anxiety and stress. Roll with being in a slump and just go do something else, try something fun. So Thursday in part was because Mr. Rockstar was off for part of the day. He slept because he'd been working nights. So he slept, and while he was asleep, I was feeling kind of, the journal just wasn't happening. So I did some other things. I did some writing, I did some planning, I did some reading, and I watched some TV, and I cleaned. And I cleaned a lot. I did some laundry, different things like that, and I didn't pressure myself to actually journal. And that felt really good. Felt really good. I think those are the things that help me the most, is that I kind of roll with whatever it is my mind and my body and my emotions are kind of telling me. I've kind of been learning to roll with whatever it is. So if I need to change things up, and when I'm writing and I'm getting a headache because I'm getting stressed out over it, if it's not fun for me, then it's time to change it up and try something else. Because I have my hand in a lot of creative coffee cups. So when the writing gives me a headache, I go to the art. When the art gives me a headache, I go to the writing. If the writing and the art are giving me both a headache, then I go to the reading. The writing and the art, I go to the reading. And what I try to do is, those three things are my major things. And on the in-between, to break things up so that I'm not feeling so, I take walks and I go on artist dates to get myself out. And I read, like I said, I watch TV, I clean here. Cleaning my creative space really helps a lot. Because things tend to get piled up when I'm really busy. The desk gets piled up, the table gets piled up, that area back there, that desk has gotten piled up. It's time for me to clean. I have my space is usually, when the creative clutter gets to the point where I feel like it's chaotic and not just creative clutter, then I clean, because it stresses me out. I can always find things after I clean, but that's a whole different story. So that, I hope, helps. I'm going to do some more coffee chats on some other of the topics, and I hope y'all have a great one. I will see you again soon. Bye, y'all.